Call this meeting of Joint Finance and Assembly Ways and Means and Senate Finance to order. Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson.
Here.
Assemblyman Frierson.
Here.
Assemblywoman Gorlow. Here. Assemblyman Hafen.
Here.
Assemblywoman Howdeggy. Here. Assemblyman Levitt. Here. Assemblywoman Miller. Here. Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno.
Here.
Assemblywoman Peters. Here. Assemblyman Roberts.
Here.
Assemblywoman Titus. Here. Assemblywoman Tolles. Here. Assemblyman Watts.
Here.
Senator Cannizzaro. Senator Dennis. Senator Dondero Loop. Senator Goycochea. Senator Hammond.
Here.
Senator Kekeffer. Senator Ratty. Senator Severs-Gansert. Assemblywoman Carlton.
Here. So happy to be here.
And Chair Brooks.
Here. Thank you. And please mark the members present as they arrive. And today we are very happy to be back in all together in the same room. This is our second day meeting in person, but it's the first time we're all together. It's joint full committee. So we do have some members and staff that are here in the committee room, some that will be on the Zoom meeting still, and for the purposes of participating in public comment, you still can go to Nellis the legislative website and sign up on Nellis. And it also has information there on how you can participate in person in the building, since we're doing that differently now. And you can still call in. At the end of this agenda, there will be a public comment period, and you'll be able to call in. And on the agenda that's listed today has the information for call-in as well as on the website. All right. Today we will be closing the budgets for the Governor's Office of Energy, the Governor's Finance Office, and the Secretary of State Office. First on the agenda for budget closing this morning is the Governor's Office of Energy. And we have Ms. Morris to present that to us and walk us through it. So please go whenever you're ready, Ms. Morris.
Thank you, Chair. Nancy Morris, Fiscal Analysis Division. The first Governor's Office of Energy budget for the committee's consideration starts on page 3 of the closing packet. Budget account 4868, which is the Office of Energy. The Governor's Office of Energy advises the Governor on energy policy and serves as the state's point of contact with the U.S. Department of Energy's State Energy Program. There is one major closing issue in this budget. It is the Governor's recommendation to eliminate $43,750 each year in green building tax abatement application fees, for a total fee decrease of $87,500 over the 2021-23 biennium, and replacing the fees with a corresponding amount of transfers from the renewable energy account. Pursuant to NRS 701A-110, the GOE collects application fees for consideration of partial property tax abatements. And according to the Governor's Finance Office, bill draft request 581070 has been submitted to support this recommendation. The Green Building Tax Abatement Program provides partial property tax abatements for new or renovated non-residential and multifamily residential buildings that meet certain green building standards. According to the agency, because building codes have increased, this program no longer provides incentives for energy efficiency beyond meeting the building codes. During the budget hearing on March 10th, 2021, the agency indicated if the program sunsets as recommended, agency staff would still need to monitor existing abatements in the program, and no operational cost reductions are anticipated to result from the elimination of the Green Building Tax Abatement Program. The decision for the committees on page 5. Do the committees wish to approve eliminating green building tax abatement application fees and replacing the revenue with an increase in transfers from the renewable energy account of $87,500 over the 2021-23 biennium contingent upon enabling legislation as recommended by the governor.
Thank you, Ms. Morris. Do any of the committee members have any questions on this item in the budget? I do not see any questions, so I would take a motion.
And if you would, Mr. Chair, I would move eliminating the green building tax abatement application fees and replacing the revenue with an increase in transfers from the renewable energy account of $87,500 over the 21-23 biennium contingent upon enabling legislation as recommended by the governor.
Second.
I have a motion from Chair Carlton and a second from Senator Dennis. Any, excuse me, any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. All against, nay. So the motion passes unanimously, and we can. You know, I should. Senator Hammond?
I'm going to go ahead and say yay on that.
All right, thank you. And so motion passes unanimously, and we'll move to the next item.
On page 5 of your closing packet, there are 4 other closing items listed. The first 2 in the box, fiscal staff does not have concerns with. Other closing item 3 is building rent costs for the agency's Las Vegas office, which were inadvertently omitted from the executive budget. Fiscal staff recommends technical adjustments of $3,750 in fiscal 22 and $3,827 in fiscal 23 to support this expenditure funded with increased transfers from the renewable energy account. Other closing item 4 is a revenue adjustment. The governor's recommended budget includes renewable energy tax abatement application fee revenue of $106,915 compared to the agency's projection of $63,250 per year for this expense. Fiscal staff recommends technical adjustments to reduce the renewable energy tax abatement fee revenue in this account with a corresponding increase in transfers from the renewable energy account, and a corresponding technical adjustment is recommended in the renewable energy account for both other closing items 3 and 4. Fiscal staff recommends other closing items 1 and 2 be closed as recommended by the governor, and other closing items 3 and 4 be closed with the noted technical adjustments. Fiscal staff requests authority to make other technical adjustments as necessary.
Thank you, Ms. Morris. Any questions from the committee on these other closing items? I see none, so I would take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move Gov Rec on closing items 1 and 2, on items 3 and 4 with the noted technical adjustments, and also the authority to give staff to make other technical adjustments as necessary.
Second.
All right, I have a motion from Chair Carlton, a second from Senator Dennis. Any discussion on the motion? I see none. So all in favor, aye. Aye. All in favor, against, nay. Senator Hammond?
Aye.
All right, motion passes unanimously. And we can move to the next budget.
On page 7 of the closing packet is the renewable energy account, budget account 4869. This was originally established as receiving 45% of property taxes paid where an abatement had been granted to a renewable energy facility. This funding mechanism was modified by the 2013 legislature, which eliminated the transfer of 45% of property taxes for projects approved after June 30th, 2013. This budget still receives the property taxes from the previously approved projects until the associated abatement projects expire. There is one major closing issue in this budget, which is continued funding for programs. The governor recommends funding of $1.3 million in each year of the 21-23 biennium to continue funding for 5 programs, including the Lower Income Solar Energy Program, the Direct Energy Assistance Loan Program, the Home Energy Retrofit Opportunity for Seniors Program, the Performance Contract Audit Assistance Program, and the Electric Highway Program. The Lower Income Solar Energy Program, the governor recommends funding this program at the same amount as legislatively approved for the 2019-21 biennium, which is utilizing reserves of $200,000 in each year of the 21-23 biennium. And the program, which is a joint effort with the Energy, offers incentives to business customers for solar systems that serve lower income populations. The Direct Energy Assistance Loan Program, the governor recommends utilizing loan repayments of $44,040 in fiscal year 22 and $27,789 in fiscal year 23 to support the Direct Energy Assistance Loan Program. This program provides state of Nevada employees an interest-free loan for energy efficiency upgrades that's paid off via a monthly payroll deduction. The Nevada Housing Division administers the program through its established system of contractors. The agency indicated this contract was not renewed because the Nevada Housing Division was unable to serve applicants in a timely manner due to lack of energy efficiency auditors in the state to perform the required audits. Fiscal staff recommends technical adjustments to update the use of this loan repayment as outlined in other closing item 5. The Home Energy Retrofit Opportunity for Seniors Program assists with reducing energy costs for Nevada seniors by improving the energy efficiency of their homes, and the governor recommends funding of $66,849 in fiscal year 22 and $650,598 in fiscal year 23, which is a reduction of $182,553 compared to the $1.5 million legislatively approved for the 2019-21 biennium. The Performance Contract Audit Assistance Program provides monetary assistance for financial grade operational audits to eligible Nevada governmental entities that choose to enter into a performance contract for operating cost savings measures. The executive budget recommends funding of $250,000 in fiscal year 22 and $225,000 in fiscal year 2023 for this program. For the Electric Highway Program, property tax funding of $150,000 each year of the 21-23 biennium is recommended by the governor. This program funds infrastructure such as electric vehicle charging stations, and the agency indicates 21 projects have been completed, 7 are in progress, and 2 are still pending. During the March 10th, 2021 budget hearing, the agency noted that it was still receiving property tax from the 13 projects approved prior to June 30th, 2013, which are projected to decline each year in the last abatement expiring in March of 2033. In addition, the agency noted that the future of the Crescent Dune Solar Energy Plant tax revenue was questionable, and it was projected to provide approximately 30% of the revenue in this budget. The agency indicated it did receive a property tax payment from this project in January of 2021 and would continue to monitor this program. Also, during the budget hearing, the committee discussed the impacts of the pandemic on the agency's programs, where the agency indicated the lower income solar energy program and the home energy retrofit opportunity for seniors programs had experienced delays due to the pandemic. And if the direct energy assistance loan program is implemented in a new version, it would likely incorporate social distancing protocols. The agency stated the electric highway projects were not impacted by the pandemic, and that having served the need to alleviate range anxiety in electric vehicle owners so they could travel long distances, the program was nearing completion. The decision for the committees on page 10. Do the committees wish to approve continuing funding the lower income solar energy, direct energy assistance loan, home energy retrofit opportunity for seniors, performance contract audit assistance, and Nevada electric highway programs for a total of $2.6 million over the 21-23 biennium as recommended by the governor?
Thank you, Ms. Morris. Does the committee have any questions on these items? I don't see any questions on these items, so we could go ahead and take a motion.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I would move to continue funding of the lower income solar energy, the direct energy assistance loan, home energy retrofit opportunity for seniors, and performance contract audit assistance, and the Nevada electric highway programs for a total of $2.6 million over the 21-23 biennium as recommended by the governor.
Second.
I have a motion from Chair Carlton, a second from Senator Dennis. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Against, nay. And Senator Hammond?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Motion passes unanimously, and we can move on to our next budget.
On page 11 of the closing packet are the other closing items for this budget. There are 3 other closing items noted in the table. Other closing item 4, transfers to the Governor's Office of Energy. As previously noted in the prior budgets, fiscal staff recommends an increase of transfers from this budget to provide funding for the Las Vegas office rent, as well as the overstated revenue, with the authority to make adjustments based on the committee's closing action in the Governor's Office of Energy budget. This recommendation appears reasonable. Other closing item 5 is the direct energy assistance loan program transfers. As noted, this contract was not renewed with the Nevada Housing Division, and the loan repayment revenue and corresponding transfers in the governor's recommended budget. The governor's recommended budget recommends the loan repayments be transferred to the Nevada Housing Division. However, because the Nevada Housing Division is not currently operating this program, the transfers to support it are not necessary. Fiscal staff recommends eliminating the transfers to the Nevada Housing Division and increasing the reserves. With the noted technical adjustment, this recommendation appears reasonable. And other closing item number 6 is the home energy retrofit opportunity for seniors program. To provide the full annual contract amount of $740,000 per year, fiscal staff recommends technical adjustments to utilize reserves of $73,151 in fiscal year 22 and $89,402 in fiscal year 23 to increase the expenditure authority to the full contract amount. With the noted technical adjustment, this recommendation appears reasonable. Fiscal staff recommends other closing items 1 through 3 be closed as recommended by the governor, and other closing items 4 through 6 be closed with the noted technical adjustments. Fiscal staff requests authority to make other technical adjustments as necessary.
Thank you, Ms. Morris. Do any of the committee members have any questions on these other closing items? Seeing none, I will take a motion on the recommendations.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would move closing items 1 through 3 as Gov Rec, items 4 through 6 closed with the noted technical adjustments with authority for staff to make other technical adjustments as necessary.
Second.
I have a motion from Chair Carlton, a second from Senator Dennis. Any discussion on the motion? I see none. So all in favor, say aye. Aye. Against, nay. And Senator Hammond?
Aye.
All right. So the motion passes unanimously, and we can move on to the next budget.
Thank you, Chair. On page 13 of the closing packet begins the Renewable Efficiency Conservation Loan Budget number 4875. The original purpose of this budget was granting low-interest loans to renewable energy system projects funded with the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, or ARRA, funds. The use of the funds was expanded through the passage of Senate Bill 536 in 2019 to include using ARRA funds for any other purpose approved by the Federal Department of Energy. There's one major closing issue in this budget, which is continued funding for programs. The governor recommends $500,000 over the 2021-23 biennium for competitive grant programs and $150,000 in fiscal year 22 for Nevada Clean Energy Fund startup costs. During the committee hearing, the previous loans were discussed, including the loans for 8 projects totaling $13 million that were defaulted and designated as bad debt at the October 13, 2020 Board of Examiners meeting. 11 successful projects were completed and paid back in full, and 4 are active and currently making payments as shown at the chart on the bottom of page 14. For the competitive grant program, the governor recommends funding $500,000 over the 21-23 biennium. And the Department of Energy provided written approval in 2018 for the Governor's Office of Energy to establish a competitive grant program with Nevada's remaining ARRA funds. The first notice of funding opportunity, which focuses on tribal nations, recently completed its grant application process. And the Nevada Clean Energy Fund, the governor recommends $150,000 in fiscal 2022 to fund startup costs for this independent nonprofit corporation for the public benefits, which is to provide funding for and promote investment in clean energy projects. At the August 20th, 2020 Interim Finance Committee meeting, the IFC approved utilizing $250,000 of reserves to fund startup costs for the Nevada Clean Energy Fund in fiscal 2021. And during the agency's budget hearing on March 10th, the agency indicated an executive director for the Nevada Clean Energy Fund had been hired, who would be responsible for securing private funding, which would allow loans to be issued, resulting in lender fee revenue to support the Nevada Clean Energy Fund's operations. The Governor's Office of Energy indicated it anticipated the Nevada Clean Energy Fund being self-sustaining beginning in fiscal year 2025. And the Governor's Office of Energy did not anticipate providing additional funding for startup costs for the Nevada Clean Energy Fund beyond the $150,000 included in the executive budget in fiscal year 2022. The decision for the committees on page 16 of the closing packet. Do the committees wish to approve funding competitive grants totaling $500,000 over the biennium and the Nevada Clean Energy Fund startup costs of $150,000 in fiscal year 2022 as recommended by the governor.
Thank you, Ms. Morris. Do any of the committee members have any questions on any of these? Senator Severs-Gansert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just looking at the notes on the competitive grant program, and are there any updates to that? Because it looks like the grant application process closed on April the 5th, and notifications were April the 12th. Do we know if those have been granted, those funds have been contracted or started to contract?
The agency indicated that the applications had been received and scored by the reviewing committee, and that they would be, they intended to present them in time for the June IFC agenda. And the agency is on the call in case the chair wishes for more information.
Yes, please. Could you have Director Bobsian maybe answer that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. David Bobstein for the record, Governor's Office of Energy. We do have more information on this, and I'm going to ask Deputy Director for Intergovernmental Relations, Jennifer Taylor, to provide that update. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Bobsian. Through you, Chair Brooks, to Senator Severs-Gansert, we have, as noted, received applications, scored those applications, and will be submitting the packet to IFC to be placed on that June agenda. I'm not sure if that's enough information, Senator, or if you would like more specific information on the applications that we've received.
Thank you. Yes, in our package, it actually said you were going to be doing award notifications on April 12th. So I guess, is that not accurate, or are you doing notifications now?
We on the NOFO had, I'm sorry, through you, Chair Brooks, to Senator Severs-Gansert, Jennifer Taylor, Governor's Office of Energy, for the record, we did send out preliminary notices of awards on April 14th. Our NOFO said that April 12th was an approximate date, so we sent them out on the 14th to the two awardees. And then we are submitting, again, the application and the request to be on June IFC today. We had two awards that were, I'm so sorry, it's just Friday and my coffee has not kicked in. We had two applicants that were given notices of preliminary awards. One is for a project that centers around geothermal work, and one is for a project that centers on transmission work and transmission efficiency in connecting solar and storage project from one of the tribal nations to a public power provider.
Thank you. That's helpful. Just one other question. How was the demand? Did you have a lot of applicants or just a few applicants for this program?
Thank you for the question, Senator Severs-Gansert. Through Chair Brooks to you, we had two applications. We did do a significant amount of outreach, but we think that the program was a well-received program from our conversations with our partners at the Nevada Indian Commission. But we only did receive two applications. But they're really good applications, and we're very excited about the awards.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator, and thank you, Ms. Taylor. Do any other members of the committee have any other questions on these? It does not appear as if we do. So I would be prepared with no other questions or discussion. I'd be prepared to take a motion.
So with that, Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve funding competitive grants totaling $500,000 over the biennium and Nevada Clean Energy Fund STAR-REP cost of $150,000 in fiscal year 22, as recommended by the governor.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Chair Carlton, a second from Senator Dennis. Any discussion on the motion? Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson?
Thank you so much. And it's just quick because I think we put a lot of comments on the record last session when we were talking about switching this over from the original loan program into the grant program, and we talked a lot about the time with the history on this program. So I'm just excited to see the grants go out. I'll be excited whenever we have IFC to see what those look like and have more details on them. And in general, just want to thank the office, because in a number of these different budgets, I think we see some cleanup work being done, and I think that's good. I think we as a legislature have these ideas that, hey, let's try this. This might work. We think that this will move us in the right direction on energy efficiency and how can we do some of these things. And then we take a look back and we say, okay, what was the most effective? And then where can we repurpose our efforts and dollars and resources to invest into what really, really seemed to prove out well. So I appreciate the work that the office has done in a number of these different budgets that way.
Thank you, Assemblywoman. Any other comments on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, aye. Aye. Against, nay. Senator Hammond?
Aye.
All right, the motion passes unanimously, and we can move on to our next budget. Mr. Hart, good to see you in person and not on a Zoom screen.
Thank you, Chair Brooks. Good morning, members of the committee. For the record, Alex Hart's Fiscal Analysis Division. I will be presenting for closing two budgets for the Governor's Finance Office. The first budget for the Budget Division begins on page 17 of your closing packet. There is one major closing issue that occurred after the budget hearing. The budget division, there was a budget amendment submitted on April 11th, 2021 that recommends adding $212,401 of general fund appropriations in fiscal year 22 and $250,049 in fiscal year 23 to fund two new full-time positions and some associated costs for the for the budget division in the Governor's Office of Finance. If you look on page 18, there is information provided on each of the two positions. The first one is a new unclassified budget administrator position. This position will primarily serve as the administrator of the budget division. There is no position currently that performs that function other than the director of the Governor's Office of Finance and assisted by the deputy director of the Office of Finance. As noted, the main responsibilities are to provide oversight and assistance in administering the budget division, as well as provide assistance with rate development, statewide cost allocation plans, work with other department directors and division administrators regarding operational issues, ensure implementation of administrative directives, policies, guidelines, et cetera. The new position is budgeted to begin through the budget amendment on August 1st and is recommended to have an annual salary of $120,977, which is consistent with the other administrator position within the Governor's Office of Finance. That position administers the Division of Internal Audits. The second position that is recommended in the budget amendment is a Classified Management Analyst 3 position. This is more of a technical position and is being requested to provide assistance in developing revenue forecast methodology and models for economic projections, do research on economic fiscal impacts in other states, provide assistance with federal funds, including work programs and contracts, provide scenarios for collective bargaining. As you can see, some of the other duties, it appears that this will provide the budget division and the Governor's Office of Finance with added bandwidth. This new position is budgeted to begin October 1st and is recommended to have a starting annual salary of $66,628, and this too is funded with recommended to be funded with general fund appropriations. Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to answer any questions. The question before the committee is on page 19, in that, do the committees wish to approve Budget Amendment A216431340, which adds general fund appropriations totaling $212,401 in fiscal year 2022 and $250,049 in fiscal year 23 to fund 2 new full-time positions and associated costs for the Governor's Office of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Hartz. Do any of the committee members have any questions on these positions? And Mr. Levitt?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I'm just looking at the jump between 22 and 23. You know, it's dedicated to 2 positions, and the positions, you know, salary-wise, it's $186,628 in FY 22, and then I'm assuming the extra money is for associated costs and benefits that go to those positions. But I just wonder what the jump, you know, the jump is pretty substantial as far as when you're talking about 2 positions between 22 and 23. And so I just wondered what the reasoning behind that jump in the salary or in the position, because logistically you'd think that once they're set up, the need for those would go down, but it seems like it's jumping between the 2 fiscal years.
Mr. Chair, if I may, Assemblyman Levitt, the primary difference that requires the higher general fund appropriation in the second year, fiscal year 23, is that represents a full year's worth of salary for both positions and the associated fringe costs, compared to the first year, which is budgeted at 11 months for the administrator position, but only 9 months for the management analyst 3 positions. So you're adding the equivalent of 4 months of salary and fringe costs.
Thank you so much for that clarification. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Chair Carlton?
And thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And this conversation came up in the original hearing when the organizational chart was presented to us, and I had known over the last couple of biennium how compacted the GFO's office was, and I think we got a real taste for what we really need in the future when the CARES Act money hit the state, and there was a lot of work to be done, and now we're looking at rescue dollars coming to the state, and it's a lot more, and I believe we need to give the office the resources to be able to address all those needs. And the domino effect that happens is they're able to work with our staff much better so that we can have better communication and get our work product coordinated between the 2 offices so that everyone has the staff that they need to move forward. So in looking at the organizational chart, these were the 2 positions that I believe the GFO felt would be of the most benefit at this time, especially over what we're looking at over this interim. So that's where the discussion came from. And I would suggest that the management analyst position, which I believe the default date was October 1st, but I would like to make the technical adjustment to make that August the 1st. If they have a person available, the sooner the better. This summer they get them up and running, because we're going to have a lot of work to do over this interim, and they need the staff.
Thank you, Chair Carlton. Senator Kiefer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was actually surprised not to see a lot of description about the positions related to the new federal funding that's coming in and the need that we're going to have to oversee some of those dollars in the next couple of years. But I would just suggest that recognizing that this is a need that we're going to have going forward for some additional fiscal oversight. The same is probably true for our own fiscal staff at the LCB. We may want to consider finding ways to support legislative fiscal staff as well and expand some of their staffing capacity in this next interim as well.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman. Because we don't know what the guidance is, and gosh, I feel like we should cross-stitch that into a sampler. We wish we had the guidance, right? Putting actual descriptions in related to that until we really know what the work is going to be could possibly hamstring us. You know, we know with every position we have, there's that other duties as assigned, so we know we have that flexibility. And Senator, you're reading my mind, and we are of like mind on our fiscal staff, but that's a discussion for another day.
Well, it sounds like somebody thinks we're going to be busy in the IFC. Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to make a comment to these salaries because it sounded like there was a comment on the record that they might seem kind of high, but these are so, I mean, ideally, if we had the ability to really budget and pay our state employees what we know they're worth, we know these positions would be higher, right? I'm looking at this. The new position for the new classified management analyst 3 position as a starting salary, $66,000 a year. And then you read the description of what they're going to have to do, forecasting methodologies and models for economic projections and working on the Smart 21 system. And we see here and we talk about how the Smart 21 system has taken 5 years to implement, longer, actually decade, I think, almost to implement. And so these are so modest, and I know whoever fills these positions are going to be highly talented. And as always, we thank the people who come to work for the state at these salaries, because we know that easily this job description in the private sector would, there would be a 1 at the starting point of that salary. And so I wish we could do more. We know our state government's anemic, and I wish across the board we could do more, but this is a great start.
Any other conversation on these 2 positions? I do not see any. Mr. Hartz, do you want to walk through these other closing items as well? And maybe we can combine those into a motion.
I would be happy to, Mr. Chair. There is one other closing item that is included in the governor's recommended budget, and that is shown in the table on page 19. That is for a temporary contract staff in fiscal year 23 only, for $25,000 to assist in preparing the 23-25 biennium executive budget.
Does the committee have any questions on this other closing item? I do not see any, so I think I would be prepared to take a motion on both of these decisions.
And so if I may, Mr. Chair, I would move to approve Budget Amendment A 216431340, which adds general fund appropriations totaling $212,401 in 22, $250,049 in fiscal year 23 to fund 2 new full-time positions associated with the cost for the Office of Finance with the technical adjustment of the second position starting on August the 1st, and other closing items as recommended by the governor.
Second.
I have a motion from Chair Carlton and a second from Senator Dennis. Do I have any discussion on this motion? Oh, Assemblyman Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just a question for procedures or whatever. The motion has an adjustment to start the position in August, which would actually change the first year's, the dollar amount. So that's what is adjusted through the technical adjustments? They give you authority to do that through the technical adjustments?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for the question.
Thank you, Assemblyman Roberts. Any other discussions on the motion? I see none, so all in favor of the motion, aye. Aye. All against, nay. And Senator Hammond?
Aye.
All right, thank you. So motion passes unanimously, and we can move on to the next budget, Mr. Hartz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next budget begins on page 21, and this is for the Division of Internal Audits. There are no major closing issues in this budget. There are 2 other closing items, which can be found on page 22. Fiscal staff has reviewed them, and they appear reasonable. Fiscal staff recommends that this budget be closed as recommended by the governor and requests authority for staff to make technical adjustments as necessary.
All right, any questions from the committee on this budget? I do not see any, so I could take a motion.
I would move GovRec with technical adjustments, Mr. Chair.
Second.
I have a motion from Chair Carlton, a second from Senator Dennis. Any discussion on that motion? See no discussion. All in favor, aye? Aye. Against, nay? Senator Hammond?
Aye.
All right, motion passes unanimously, and we can move on to the Secretary of State's budget. Thank you, Mr. Hartz. And Ms. Hoppy, whenever you're ready to present that closing for us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, this is Karen Hoppy, LCB Fiscal Analysis Division. On today's agenda, we have two budgets for the Secretary of State's office. The first begins on page 23 of your closing packet. This is Budget 101-1050, Secretary of State, and there are three major closing issues to discuss this morning. The first is the governor recommends general fund appropriations over the 21-23 biennium of $1.2 million for ongoing enhancements and $397,657 for ongoing maintenance of the Silver Flume online business portal. According to the Secretary of State's office, the Silver Flume enhancements would address business needs not completely captured and delivered during the initial technology investment project, as well as new requirements for upgrades to agency systems. As background, the 2015 legislature approved $11.8 million for a technology investment request to replace the ESOS, the primary application used by the Secretary of State's office for processing, archiving, and receiving commercial recording business entity filings electronically. The 2017 legislature approved an additional $6.3 million to continue the tire in the 2017-19 biennium, and system implementation occurred July 2019. Sinuity is the name of the product that replaced the commercial recording legacy filing system, formerly known as ESOS, as well as the system for modernizing Nevada's notary public processing and reporting system. Silver Flume is the Nevada business portal that interfaces with the SOS Sinuity system to provide online services. The office reports that when the Sinuity system first went live in July 2019, there were numerous issues that caused outages and processing errors. Examples of these include system bottlenecks, slowness, and filing types, which were not completely ready at launch. According to the agency, almost all these types of issues have been addressed. However, the office indicates that while significant progress has been made since go live, there are over 270 log enhancement items to be addressed. Decision Unit E225 recommends general fund appropriations of $1.2 million over the upcoming biennium for vendor programming hours each year to develop enhancements to the system. According to the agency, the enhancements cover changes to existing filing flows, addition of new filing flows, improved accounting and reporting, and upgrade design modifications when integrated applications change. Regarding anticipated benefits from the system enhancements, the office indicates the benefits to customers are a stable and user-friendly system, which provides the ability for nearly every commercial recording filing to be completed online. Decision Unit E226 recommends general fund appropriations of $397,657 over the upcoming biennia for ongoing maintenance and support of the system. The office indicates annual maintenance and support costs were included in the initial system purchase for a period of 2 years, but maintenance and support must be purchased beginning in fiscal year 22. During the February 19th budget hearing, the agency noted that the enhancements requested in this decision unit are above and beyond the issues remaining from the contract. As part of its response to the budget hearing follow-up memo, the agency provided a detailed spreadsheet with a prioritized list of approximately 250 enhancements requested for the Sinuity system. Those enhancements are organized into 3 groups, which are noted in the bullet points on page 25 of your packet. During budget hearing testimony, the agency indicated their intention to complete Sinuity enhancements within the 21-23 biennium if this decision unit is approved. To enable the office to attain that goal, the agency requests back language in the Appropriations Act to allow funding allocated for Sinuity system enhancements to be available in both fiscal year 22 and fiscal year 23. Do the committees wish to approve general fund appropriations over the 2021-23 biennium of $1.2 million for ongoing enhancements and $397,657 for ongoing maintenance of the Silver Flume online business portal, and approve back language in the Appropriations Act to allow funding allocated for system enhancements to be available in both fiscal year 22 and fiscal year 23.
Thank you, Ms. Hoppy. Does the committee, any of the committee members have any questions on this particular decision? I see none, so we could take a motion on this particular decision.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman. If Senator Dennis is good with it, I'm good with it, because this is his world. So does the committee wish to approve general fund appropriations? I would move that the committee approve general fund appropriations over the 21-23 biennium of $1.2 million for ongoing enhancements and $397,657 for ongoing maintenance of the Silver Flume online business portal, and approve back language in the Appropriations Act to allow funding allocated for system enhancements to be available in both FY22 and 23.
I would second.
All right, we got a motion from Chair Carlton, a second from Senator Dennis. Do any committee members have any questions or discussion on that motion? Senator Dennis.
Just a quick comment. As we looked at this with the Sinuity, we have 2 different pieces here. One's the front end of this technology, and the other is the back end. And this is going to be an ongoing cost that we're going to have as we move forward. So just want to put that out there so everybody kind of keeps that in mind.
Thank you, Senator Dennis. We get a lot of the technology enhancements on so many of these budgets. It's really great to see what's happening with our state as far as making it accessible to the rest of Nevada to do business.
And Mr. Chairman, I'm so happy the word COBOL is not in here.
All right. So any other discussion on the motion? I don't see any. So all in favor, aye. Aye. All against, nay. Senator Hammond?
Aye.
All right. Motion passes unanimously, and we can move on to the next decision.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The second major issue in this budget is on page 26 of your closing packet. As a budget reduction measure, the governor recommends reducing operating expenditures, resulting in general fund savings of $101,688 over the 21-23 biennium. This decision unit would reduce operating expenditures such as per diem, travel, software memberships, and registration fees, and those recommendations are laid out in the table. The committee did not have any questions about this recommendation during the budget hearing. Fiscal staff has included a technical adjustment to correct the amount of training category reductions. The reductions were intended to remove travel costs for 3 staff to attend out-of-state training. However, in-state airfare was mistakenly included in addition to the out-of-state airfare. This technical adjustment removes the in-state airfare costs of $990 in fiscal year 22 and $495 in fiscal year 23. resulting in general fund reductions of $100,203. Two, the committees wish to approve general fund reductions of $100,203 over the 21-23 biennium as adjusted by reducing operating expenditures for per diem, travel, software, memberships, and registration fees.
Thank you, Ms. Hoppy. Do any of the committee members have any questions on this particular decision? I do not see any, so I could take a motion.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve general fund reductions of $100,203 over the 21-23 biennium as adjusted by reducing the operating expenditures for per diem, travel, software, memberships, and registration fees.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion from Chair Carlton, a second from Senator Dennis. Do I have any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, aye. Aye. All against, nay. Senator Hammond?
Aye.
All right. Motion passes unanimously, and we can move on to the next decision in this budget. Ms. Hoppy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On page 27 of your packet is the third major issue in this budget. The governor recommends general fund appropriations of $21,751 in each year of 21-23 biennium to fund an annual elections workshop. This workshop is intended to provide education and training for Nevada County election officials, as well as a forum to discuss election-related issues. The agency has historically committed to the election process training that is provided at this annual conference to Nevada County election officials. According to the office, the purpose is to discuss changes in election processes and procedures, to discuss friction points and review current policy and procedures, to discover where change may need to occur to increase efficiency and security. As an example, during this past election cycle, the procedures for the conduct of an all-male election were discussed, which the agency noted proved to be useful when AB 4 of the 32nd special session prescribed that every active registered voter be sent a mail-in ballot. For the workshop proposed for the next biennium, the Secretary of State indicates that the anticipated 98 attendees for upcoming workshops would include 17 county clerks, members of their election staff, members of their information technology staffs, guest speakers, and staff members from the Office of the Secretary of State who live more than 50 miles from the planned site of the workshop. During the February 19th budget hearing, the committees were interested in the benefits of elections workshops and where they would be held in future. The agency testified that workshops rotate between Reno and Las Vegas and are scheduled after legislative sessions to discuss legislative changes going into the next election cycle. As for issues that the office anticipates for the 2022 election cycle that would justify continuing the higher annual workshop cost for the upcoming biennia, the agency indicated it anticipated increased needs for election cybersecurity, infrastructure, and voter education. Do the committees wish to approve annual elections workshop costs of $21,751 in each fiscal year of the 21-23 biennium?
Thank you, Ms. Hoppy. Do any of the committee members have any questions on this particular item? I do not. Oh, there we go. Assemblywoman Tolles.
Thank you so much, Chair, and I certainly value this this workshop. And I apologize if I missed it. Did we recoup savings as a result of not holding the workshop? Some savings during COVID, or moving that over? I apologize if I missed that.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Tolles. Yes, this workshop was not held in the summer of 2020 last year, as would have been normal because of COVID restrictions. The workshop staff's understanding was last held in the summer of 2019. Plans are being made to hold a workshop again this summer of 2021.
Follow up? Yes, please. And so what was the amount of that savings, and do we see that reflected anywhere?
Well, the savings would be included in the current biennial budget when those funds were not spent by the office because of COVID restrictions. They will revert to the election or revert to the general fund at the end of the fiscal year.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on this item from the committee? All right, I do not see any other questions, so we could take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move to approve annual elections workshop cost of $21,751 in each fiscal year of the 21-23 biennium.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion from Chair Carlton and a second from Senator Dennis. Any discussion on the motion? I see no discussion on the motion. All in favor, aye. Against, nay. Senator Hammond?
Aye.
All right, motion passes unanimously, and we can move on to the next item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, for the record, Karen Hoppy, LCP Fiscal Analysis Division. On page 28 of your closing package are several other closing items. You'll see in the table 7 other closing items as recommended by the governor, which appear reasonable to staff. There are a few technical adjustments recommended by fiscal staff here. Number 8 would be an adjustment to the Secretary of State salary. This would be effective January of 2023, and an adjustment for the 3% cost of living adjustment that was approved for fiscal year 2020 for all state employees. Number 9 is training for Securities Division staff, a technical adjustment. Agency confirmed to fiscal staff that this decision unit was budgeted for 6 hotel nights in error. Fiscal staff has included a technical adjustment to reduce to 4 hotel nights, which decreases the cost to $4,836 per year. In number 10, the governor recommended maintenance costs for an appointment kiosk. This kiosk is located in the Southern Nevada office building. Fiscal staff noted that these costs were already included in the base budget. The agency confirms that, and therefore this decision unit is not needed. Accordingly, fiscal staff would recommend the committees not approve decision unit E239. So fiscal staff recommends other closing items 1 through 7 be closed as recommended by the governor. Other closing items 8 and 9 be closed with the noted technical adjustments. Other closing item 10 not be approved, and request authority for staff to make other technical adjustments as necessary.
Thank you, Ms. Hoppy. Do any of the committee members have any questions on these other closing items? I do not see any, so I would take a motion.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move to close items 1 through 7 as GovRec, close items 8 and 9 with the noted technical adjustments, and closing item number 10 not be approved, and give staff authority to make other technical adjustments as necessary.
Second.
I have a motion from Chair Carlton and a second from Senator Dennis. Do any of the committee members have any comments on the motion? I do not see any, so all in favor of the motion, aye. Aye. Against, nay. Senator Hammond?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously, and we can move on to the next item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Moving on to the second budget for the Secretary of State's office, which begins on page 31 of your closing packet. This is the Help America Vote Act, or HAVA, election reform budget. There is no major closing issues in this budget, and one other closing item which appears reasonable to staff. Fiscal staff recommends other closing item 1 be closed as recommended by the governor and requests authority for staff to make other technical adjustments as necessary.
All right, thank you, Ms. Hoppy. Any questions on it? Assemblywoman Tolles.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And just quickly want to get a feel for what is that match? Is it a one-to-one match between the state investment and the federal investment?
Assemblywoman Tolles, the match varies, depending on the specific award that was issued. This account has a substantial balance forward, which will be available for expenditure in the upcoming biennia. It's made up of at least 2 federal grants, to staff's recollection. It's not a one-to-one match. Staff recalls that the most recent HAVA federal grant funds had a 25% state match, but staff would be glad to be corrected by the office if that information is not accurate.
Thank you for that. And maybe just at a future time, I'd just be curious what that breakdown is. If I could ask one more question, if I may. So I know that we're having some discussions about moving some things online, and I know particularly in regards to moving to a top-down system, centralizing, which I'm in support of. I just want to get some clarification on the record. Can some of these funds be also used for cybersecurity, just to ensure that that process is secure for anyone who has concerns about that?
Assemblywoman Tolles, thank you for the question. And it is staff's understanding that these federal HAVA grant funds most definitely can be used for cybersecurity and ensuring the security and accuracy of elections in Nevada.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Tolles. Do any other committee members have any questions on this budget? All right, I do not see any, so we could take a motion on this budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move GovRec with technical adjustments.
Second.
We have a motion from Chair Carlton, a second from Senator Dennis. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion on the motion, all in favor, aye. Aye. Against, nay. Senator Hammond?
Aye.
All right, motion passes unanimously, and that is our last budget of the morning. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ms. Hoppy, for walking us through that. Mr. Hartz, Ms. Morris, for the other budgets this morning. Appreciate that. It's good to be back in this room, and with that, we will be on our last agenda item, which is public comment. So if our broadcast services folks can make sure that the public I don't see any public comment in the room, or any public in the room, and if we could see if we have any on the line, that would be great.
Thank you so much, Chair Brooks. The public line is open and working. However, there are no callers at this time.
We'll give it just a minute, so to make sure if anyone wanted to jump on after we went into the public comment period.
Certainly, Chair. Thank you. BPS standing by.
Well, it seems as if we have no public comment on the line either today. And so that's the end of our agenda for today's meeting. I just want to take this opportunity to thank the broadcast services and the fiscal staff and the Legislative Counsel Bureau. We are back in person and did not miss a beat, and we're managing technology, and the staff in this legislative building has taken every curveball that we or the circumstances could possibly throw at them and knocked it out of the park. And I just continue to be amazed at how wonderful and talented our staff is. And here we are, back into another phase of what this legislature looks like. And so I can only imagine what curveballs are coming next. So thank you very much, and appreciate everything that you do. And so with that, we will adjourn.